Hello and welcome back to the Makai Sentai podcast. This is Dani here, and I've been away for a little while. I know the episode here took a little longer than originally anticipated to come out. So you've been waiting for a wee while, but I do appreciate if you're listening here. So we'll just dig into the episode here. So joining me on this episode will be a familiar and returning face or voice. And if you're playing the game at the moment, chances are you're probably tuning in each day to the multiple videos he has been pumping out recently. Hello, Hayzink. Not too bad. So the reason why I've been away, I don't really talk about too often, but the company I work for, we released a game called Ollie Ollie World on multiple platforms. It was a really awesome little game. And since that time, my wife's birthday had come up. We launched another game called Rollerdrome. And how we love the wee trip over to London to get that launched. It was really fun. I had my wife over and her sister. And we had a lovely little touristy time over in London. And since then, I've been getting back at work, and I've also been doing my third year at my Open University degree course. And next week, I also have a trip to Italy planned. So I've been very, very busy. So I do apologize. But like Hayzink can appreciate, I've been playing the game on zombie mode, not really paying attention, and then trying to get a little bit more caught up with my units and getting things prepared for some raids and some PvP recently. So I've been able to watch some Hayzink's videos myself and catch up. So how about yourself? How have you been doing these past little while? I know you've been very busy with these videos.
It's actually been a bit of a strange one for me, Danny. You probably didn't expect me to talk about this, but I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, which I know you know about. And as an adult, I started the whole medication thing. And it was very rough at the start, and I lost a lot of my drive and a lot of my motivation. And you can actually probably go on my channel and pretty much track back and see when that started to happen. So I kind of dipped off a little bit on Disgaea. I was still putting out content, but occasionally I get comments like, "Oh, you don't really seem like you're into the game anymore," and I'm like, "Well, I've got stuff going on. Do you know what I mean? Just leave me alone," kind of thing. But very recently, probably about 2 and a bit weeks ago, we seem to have finally found the right dose that seems to be working, and magically, pretty much at the exact same time, my drive and desire came back to focus on content, and I'd actually say maybe more than before. And I'm now back I think I'd say back to levels that were better than before, but again, people can be the judge of that.
So you think you're back on top form now? You're back on top of your game? Is this prime Hayzink we're getting here?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by top of your game. I mean, my content probably still sucks, but I feel like I'm trying to make a conscious effort to try and put out a video a day, which is a lot harder than it sounds. I mean, right now I'm putting out more than one video a day, but a lot of that's because I came up with the idea of doing that beginner thing, which I think we'll maybe talk about later. But I had the idea to do the beginner thing, which kind of, when I seen that people were kind of interested in that, I decided that, right, okay, what my focus needs to be now is have a normal video, so a regular video for what I want to call everyday viewers, and later that day I would have like one of the beginner videos. So if you kind of chart maybe the last 7 to 10 days, that's really what it's been. It's been what I'll call a standard video, and then that would be followed up by later in the day a beginner's video.
So if you're going back and making content for new players, you must have been a bit more reflective on the game, especially since we're still in the anniversary event period. We are in the official, was it 1.5 they're calling it, of anniversary?
Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think I reflected as such. I think what basically happened was as a lot of people know, I've said this quite openly when I make content, I was never really someone who chased after meta. I didn't really care about like ranking and raids and stuff like that. But then part of me thought that, like, not in an egotistical way, I'm clearly the most, I don't want to say most popular because that's a really bad sounding thing, but I'm clearly the most viewed Disgaea content creator. And I felt like for me to be making content talking about certain things, I should really be pushing those things myself, or I'm really not talking about things from my own first-hand experience, you know? So when I got this sudden surge of inspiration where I wanted to like really put my focus back into things, I started to push at things, and then I realised that not pushing prior to that point had left me really lacking in things like alchemy, things like gear builds, things like specific character setups and stuff like that. Because if I wanted to challenge, I would have to change a few fundamental things about my box. Now, the main difference between me and probably a lot of other people that were doing it was, for me personally, my first focus was like, I need to get faster. Like, if I can get faster, I know I can compete at a higher level than I am right now. That's like the first step of the process. And I was doing a lot of item world grinding just to try and get innocence, like just as you do, like grind the item world. Yeah. And then of course, I thought to myself, I wonder if I just go back to the old school method of buying out the shop as much as I'm willing to buy it out every single day. If I could build a lot of innocence for speed and maybe XP and HL that way. And I was like, my box space, I think the maximum is 800 on each, which obviously is what I've got. So I would buy out the shop entirely until I got 800. Usually I'd hit 801 before I did on the other. At that point, I'd go in, check my innocence, lock the ones I wanted, clear them, and do it again. And I'd maybe do that 3 or 4 times before I got extremely bored of doing it, because it's very tedious, right? Now, obviously,
yeah, for sure it is. Yeah,
that costs quartz. You spend 10 quartz every time you're refreshing the shop, which isn't
the first
actually,
5 is free. The first 5 is free.
Yeah, but to be honest, you don't get that much success on the first 5.
No, you don't.
If you want to actually make a targeted effort to make your box better, you're going to have to spend quartz, right? In probably around about, I want to say about 10 days, and probably about 1.5 to 2,000 quartz and refreshing, I went from having 2 decent pieces of speed gear to having like extremely good speed gear that I can deck absolutely everyone out with. And to me, that 2,000 quartz for all of that speed gear, not to mention all the other random things I picked up along the way, like legendary attack innocence, legendary XP innocence, legendary HL innocence, they were all like gravy on top of the steak that was the speed innocence. They all helped make my account better, and to me, for slightly over the cost of 10 summons, that growth is far better. Like, that can do far more for me, because units I pull in the future can use those shoes. Units I pull in the future can have those attack innocence transferred to their weapons. I feel like it's a more sustainable long-term growth that I've got from doing that. So then basically I thought to myself, well, you know what? I was talking to...
It was so cheap as well. It was so cheap for the cost of a single multi.
I mean, I think that's pretty cheap. Then I was talking to Food Reef, who, I'm just going to give a shout out to Food Reef on this. I must admit, during my whole down period, I'd spoken to him quite a lot about like my kind of motivation behind the game and stuff like that. And while he never pushed me to make more Disgaea content, just him talking about things really sparked my interest back up into the game. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to him, although he probably won't accept that. He kind of like helped reignite my sort of a passion for the game again. While I was still making content, I certainly wasn't as passionate about it as I was, but I mean, I explained I did have reasons for that. Anyway,
for sure.
When I spoke to him, there was just certain things, and I was like, you know what, I wonder if a lot of people realise that the game has got so much easier to do some things that you want to do. We've got this amazing comeback bonus. I wonder if people actually realise how good it is. And that's when I put out the video about, like, now is the time to come back to Disgaea. That's literally the video that kind of started me doing this whole beginners thing. And at that point, I then realised by my own Discord, which you're obviously a member of, Dani, a lot of players who we used to chat with a lot suddenly popped back up in chat, and it's like, oh, I seen the video, I'm going to start playing again, this stuff looks good. And then I seen a lot of new people commenting on like my actual comment section, and I thought, well, you know what, that's obviously a lot of either players I don't remember or new players altogether. If I was a new player jumping into Disgaea RPG blind, I would feel a bit lost. Let's be completely honest. If the game itself doesn't do a very good job at explaining its systems, it doesn't, right? We can be completely honest about that. That's nothing to do with Block Trend. That's a problem from Forwardworks. They've just not designed tutorials very well, okay? And if I jumped back into Disgaea, even having played it at the start, when I seen all these, if I seen all these new menus like Etna's Resort, like 4D Netherworld, I'd be like, oh, I'm out. I don't know what's going on here. I'm out. So I decided, well, you know what? Let's test the waters. I'll put out maybe 1 or 2 videos that are geared towards beginners but possibly can help rejoining players, and they've not all gone great. I mean, there's a few that have fallen off. Like I put out one today about supporters, and it's not doing so well, but I think people are really naive, and that probably sounds quite nasty, and if you cut that out I understand that, Dani, but I think a lot of people are quite naive and they constantly target DPSs. That's that in their brains, that's it, big numbers go woo, right? But what they don't realise is the most important element to your team in Disgaea RPG is not your DPS, it's your support units. 100% it's your support units when it comes to the team builds. Even then, that isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is gear and innocence. It all falls together. So when I started doing these videos, I was like, right, okay, if I do this, I've got to do that. And if I do that, I've got to do this. And then before I realised that, I've got in total, having it written down, it's going to be about 20 videos, I think, by the time it's all said and done. So, but I think we're 11 videos deep right now, so that probably means I've got about another 9 to go.
I think when you're in the position that you're at, I think it kind of makes sense to make content of what you're doing in game. You know, you're doing this yourself for your own benefit, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense to make content with it at the same time. You know what I mean? In parallel.
Well, I mean, yeah, I agree with that, and not only that, Dani. There's a lot of things that I see. I'm quite active in the community. People don't realise this. Obviously, if you're on Discord, you realise I chat and stuff. But a lot of times, I'm a bit of a snoopy snooper. I kind of keep an eye on what people are talking about, like looking at the likes of Facebook, looking at the likes of Discord, keeping my eyes on like what is it that people are interested in. Yeah,
watch Reddits and things like that.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Which probably explains why a lot of the times I put out certain content that is kind of right when people are thinking about that, and it's probably because I have kind of taken on board that this is what people are doing. And one of the things that I was noticing quite a lot, and this was probably more Facebook than it was Reddit, however it did occur on Reddit, was people completely misunderstanding how the top line worked on your gear. So what the common misconception seemed to be was if you've got, for example, your top line is a 40% boost to innocence, if it's got free innocence on there, some people seem to think that by having those free innocence on there, that would put on a 40% boost to the entire weapon, right? What they didn't realise was instead of it being an activate all boost, it was a any matching this boost, if that makes sense. Well, you know how
exactly,
it works.
Yes. I know how that works, yeah.
But a lot of people didn't realise that, Dani. So what they were actually doing is they were thinking that I need to try and reroll my weapon to get these bottom 3 slots and try to get maybe a 1 innocent roll on the top slot, because then that way I can get everything. I can get all bottom slots activated and I can get a 40% boost to the entire weapon. And at that stage I was like, well, okay, like if people have that as a misunderstanding, what else do they misunderstand about like the innocent side of things? So that's how that became a video. Same with like Etna's Resort. I was like, okay, well, I need to make a video about Etna's Resort. I'm like, but if I'm actually doing this for beginners, then really before I do that, I have to talk about the item world, because without the item world, you don't have Etna's Resort. And then now I was literally about to start recording videos about building gear. But then I said to myself, look, can I really talk about building gear if I've not spoke about the type of teams that you want to build? So that's why I done a video talking about what you should look for in a DPS. Not talking about you should build this team, because that's wrong. More like give someone a fishing rod and they'll catch fish for the whole life. That kind of ideology. So if I taught them, like, this is what you should be looking for, they can apply that to future units, you know. Then I said to myself, oh crap, if I'm going to talk about like other gear for supporters, I should talk about supporters. So that's why that video happened.
It snowballs, yeah. It starts snowballing then.
So I think I mentioned this to you on the Discord. I definitely mentioned it to Mira. Essentially, the way it's kind of worked is it's just kind of went into now be a flow where it's almost like, okay, chapter 1 leads to chapter 2, leads to chapter 3. Kind of like that. I feel like the only thing that I've screwed up is I haven't spoken about like super reincarnation and stuff like that. But then I'm now justifying it to myself by saying, okay, if I've spoken about DPSs, I've spoken about support characters, once I speak about gear, that's you established and you can take on relatively hard content. At that point, if you want to start pushing further beyond, that's when you would start looking at super reincarnation. So maybe I've not done it out of order, but hey, who knows? But there is a super reincarnation video and stuff coming up like down the line, but it's not yet.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes all the sense. I can see where you're coming from. And once you get started, you can't really stop. Whenever you're how many videos in? 10, 11?
I think it's 11. While you're still talking, I'll check my I'll check my analytics because I can really quickly check on there because I put them all in a playlist. So I made 2 playlists. I've got one that's Disgaea for beginners, which is all the older videos as well, talking about like a lot of the beginning stuff that maybe isn't relevant, but I guess it's almost like a timestamp in history. It's there, people can watch it if they want. And I've got the new playlist, which is the Disgaea RPG refresher course. It's currently sitting at 11 videos in it. There will be a video tomorrow, one the day after, one the day after. I don't know how long I'm going to keep doing one per day, but at least for a while anyway.
What's really annoying is that at the same time, independent of what you were doing, I was actually increasing my own video output. And I thought I was doing pretty well with a significantly increased video volume. And then I'd take a look at what you're doing. I was like, Jesus Christ, you put out more videos in a day than I could put out in a single fucking week. And you just kept going and going Dani, and going.
I've went over the score, mate, to be honest. I counted it and I posted on my Twitter yesterday. In the entire month, last month, I put out 23 videos. And don't get me wrong, I did ramp up towards the end of the month because that's when I changed my medication. So that's how I know it's definitely linked, right? But this month already, so like we are, 7 days into the month, I've put out 17 videos. So the entire month of September, I've done 23 videos. And 7 days into October, I've done 17 videos. So I feel like it's pretty safe to assume that I may well double last month's total. Maybe by next week.
See, that's the thing. You make everyone else look bad by comparison. You're complete shit. Like, it's awesome, actually. Like, the fact is that you can actually have that much content out. There's an audience for it, and I know that a lot more people benefiting from that content. Like, I was telling you earlier, my friend who hasn't played the game in quite some time, I somehow managed to get him to come back and take a look. And once he was back in taking a look, he took immediately a look on YouTube to find your videos, seeing your comeback content.
Is that your American friend? Is that your American friend that's
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about now. Yeah, I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah, same guy. So he came back to the game, and I was telling him about all these different things I was doing, and he was like, "What the fuck is half of this? What are you on about?" So instead of having to sit there and talk to him about all that shit, I pointed him in the direction of your videos, and he said he was already taking a look at them anyway. So yeah, he's been watching your videos and just using it to catch up essentially. What's new? What other things has he missed? What little quality of life stuffs are you pointing out? You know what I mean, that he hasn't seen before?
Sure. The thing is, Dani, like the thing that completely, I'll be honest, it sort of blows my mind. And again, Food Reef can probably vouch for this because I was kind of speaking to him through the entire process.
Yeah.
This was a complete punt. Like I took a punt. Like, in reality, what happened was I looked at the roadmap. I thought, right, there's not going to be a lot of content I can make next month.
I know, right? Yeah.
I'm going to try and see if I can push to get new players to come back to Disgaea. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to make a video to try and get players to come back, and I'm going to make a video trying to see if I can net some new players, because the net gain of that is, as a game, we get more players playing, which all of us want because that makes the game healthier, clearly, if there's more players playing it. But in a totally selfish way, if more players play the game, that's more potential people that would watch my content. So while Well, I probably at some point will get accused of shilling for Bolt Trend, especially when you see my video I've put out to try and encourage new players altogether, which is either tomorrow or the day after. By the time you upload this, it will probably be live. People will completely think I'm working for Bolt Trend or something, but I'm not. Everything I've said in that video is true. Bolt Trend do not give me anything for doing that. Literally, the selfish part of me is, if these people start playing this game, they may well stick by me and watch my content. So not only will I help the game, I'll help myself at the same time. So, I mean, I don't think that makes me a shill. I think that makes me smart.
By the way, is it still a secret that content creators get to know the roadmap a little bit ahead of time because it helps us out with planning content?
I mean, if we're being like completely...
Is that still a secret? Because I can edit this out. I can edit out the podcast.
No.
Is that a secret?
I mean, to be like totally honest, I think that ship
for full
sailed.
Disclosure. Yeah, for full disclosure at this point.
I think that ship sailed quite some time ago because of me. I mean, how many times now have I leaked the roadmap?
And even when you didn't full out leak it, you basically told people, you flat out said it to them without saying it. You know what I mean? You flat out went out of your way to give people a heads up with a wink and a nod.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, a lot of times the reason I would do that is it wasn't a whole. I think some people thought I did that to say, "Oh, I'm special. I get to see the roadmap."
No, it wasn't bragging. No.
I understand what you're saying, but there was definitely people on the main Discord. Like, people tried to get it to stop happening. Like, I for some reason, I mean, there probably is a reason, I don't know. And my personality probably just grates on some people, but some people actively dislike me. Like, they just flat out do not like me, which is fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but just some of the things I see said, and like, there was a guy who I will not name, who was an asshole. You probably know who I'm talking about.
No names, but
he actively, on multiple occasions, tried to get me banned from the main Discord for sharing my videos. I'm a content creator. Yeah. I'm a content creator for Disgaea who has the content creation tag, who has checked I'm allowed to do this, and this person would constantly be trying to get me banned, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? But that was the type of person that tried to get the roadmap taken away from me. Again, the only times I ever really truly more or less leaked information was when I seen people spreading misinformation. Like, I'd quite often see people saying, "Oh, you've got months before this is happening," and I would know for a fact it was coming in like 2 weeks. So I would have to really subtly say things like, well, I mean, you might not have months, you know, you might have less time than that.
That's what you expect.
Yeah, generally, if I would say something like, read between the lines, that's me basically trying to say to you guys, it's coming next month, you know? Exactly, like the Abyss Gates. I try to say to people, it's coming very soon, and you will find out even sooner when, but nobody realised that what I meant was it's next month and you'll find out on the roadmap. Like, every single month you find out what's coming the following month. So if I'm telling you you're going to find out even sooner, I thought someone would have twigged that I was talking about the roadmap.
I'll be honest with you, one of my videos I did mention about the roadmap coming soon, and I was talking about the different things that are coming up in the next few months, and one of the things I mentioned was the Abyss Gates. Like, if you don't take that as a straight up fucking hint, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Wait till people find out what's coming out in November.
Not much,
hey guys,
unfortunately.
Just to say, guys,
not much.
Guys, we've not seen the November roadmap. Just, I think pretty much a lot of us.
At this point in time, we have not officially seen it, but we all know. We know what to expect.
We know what the headline content is.
And we actually have spoken to them. We actually do know bits and pieces of content. We just haven't seen any official roadmap at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite easy to work out.
I'm looking forward to the Christmas units. I'm really genuinely looking forward to the Christmas units, actually.
I mean, yeah, Artina's alright. Is it Seraphina? Artina? It's Seraphina.
Yeah, one of them is a good fire support, I believe. So I'm finally working on my Homura, so I really want some good fire support.
Is it Homura or Homaru? I always say Homaru.
I'm terrible at names
though. Alright, we've established.
I think so.
Well, at least my viewership is established by now. I just cannot pronounce names.
Oh man, I nearly shit myself. There was one video you were talking about the male Asagi, and you called him Asagi It's a Girl. And it's actually, no, I'm sorry, dude. It was really fucking funny. The actual name is Asagi Asagiri. Asagiri. And you just looked at that and said, fuck it. Sagi, it's a girl. Fuck, man. I nearly lost
I
it.
take it you don't remember back when Torocho or whatever the hell her name is came out. Obviously she's Onigiri. I kept saying Onigiri.
I know, man. I know, man. That's why I nearly lost it. I was sitting on the sofa with my wife, and she could see exactly why I was laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I do these things deliberately. It's totally not just me being an idiot.
Oh, I didn't think so. I just thought it was fucking funny. It just made me so mad. It just made me so mad. Like, damn it, you call it the right fucking name. You know how to pronounce it, you wee fecker. You know better.
Oh, I can't help myself, sorry.
No, it was funny. It was funny. You got me. You fucking got me. You fecker.
Oh, no, I mean, I did pronounce that one wrong, Danny.
But man, that's the thing. Even though we're both sitting here behind the scenes, we're content creators. We play the game a lot. We're sitting here making content about the fucking game, and I still find watching your content entertaining. So I do personally. Yeah. What do you think then about how Bultrand has been handling the game? Because Bultrand always makes some small mistakes. Let's just get that out of the way. Bultrand isn't perfect. But one thing that really demonstrated to me actually how good I think we actually have it. Do you remember a wee while ago I sent you a link to a Reddit, on Gacha Gaming Reddit, and it was about how this game had put its own players into poverty, essentially into their summon currency poverty, because they sold a premium pack. And then a couple of days later, they changed their mind what they wanted the pack to be. And it was of a lesser value, essentially. So they basically removed it from players' possessions who purchased it and replaced it with the new content. And if they had spent the difference in the currency, they actually put the players' currency accounts into the negative. So players had to actually pay off that negative account before they could actually have a positive account again and actually do more summons. So it was... really fucking shoddy behavior, like really shoddy fucking behavior, man.
Well, I mean, it's not even just that. It's like if you bought a pack that says, just for talking sake, like let's just say for talking sake, it was random example, $100, you'll get 10 multis. Let's just say that's what it was, right? If you purchased that and they decided, nah, you know what, that's too much. We want that to be $100, you'll get 5 multis. They cannot go back in and just change that, like take it out of your account. The only thing they could do is refund you the money fully. Maybe take the summons off you. Like, again, I don't necessarily agree with that, but maybe take the 5 summons off you or whatever. But I feel like they would have to refund you your money. I don't really think there's another acceptable option other than a full refund. It shouldn't even be discussed. If they've decided that they are going to fundamentally change the thing that you paid for, you might have chosen to not pay for that thing. So I don't see how they can expect your your purchase to stand. So that is just an absolute joke. And I feel like if any of those people complained to Apple or Google, they would get their money back.
Yeah, I know for a fact that from a UK and EU perspective, that's illegal. That is, the consumer will win over if you want your money back. If you want justice for that, you'll get your money back instantly.
Actually, that's not true. And I hate to say this, I can actually speak about this.
Fire away. Do you know any better?
Well, I hate to derail into a different game, but using Dislight as an example. Right? So using Dislight as an example, I was able to fundamentally prove that Dislight were misleading and misadvertising their consumers, right? So basically on their banners, they would put up a banner splash art that would say 10% increased chance of pulling the new unit. So you have, in plain language, it would say rate up 10% chance of pulling the new unit, okay? But when you then would go in and further dig into the actual rates, what they were meaning was if you pulled a legendary unit, which you had a 1% chance of doing, that legendary unit would then have a 10% chance of being the new unit, which in reality meant the rate on that banner, instead of being 10%, it was 10% of 1%, which would mean the overall rate to pull that unit was 0.10%, right? So that wording to flat out say on the banner, you have a 10% chance to pull this character, that is just fundamentally false. False. I had, when I started making Dislike content, I had purchased a few small purchases to make like videos and stuff like that, and I contacted Apple about it. Apple agreed with me it was misleading. They said that I showed them it. They said the language was misleading, and they refused to refund me.
What?
Yep, I showed them in black and white. Like, I had it. They had the evidence. They read the evidence. They agreed with me that the evidence was, in fact, correct. They were misleading people. They were misrepresenting their rates, and they would raise a complaint with Lilith Games directly. But they said the system would not allow them to issue a refund, and they could not override it. I thought it. I tried, and they wouldn't do it.
That was shoddy, man. That was disgraceful.
So I actually don't think we have the protection as consumers when it comes to these digital games as people seem to think we do. I really don't.
Yeah, that's a shame, really.
Well, think about it this way as well, Danny. How many games will literally sell you packs at $100, $200, $300 when they know fine well in 2 days' time they're going to announce end of service, and the game might be literally ending 2 or 3 months down the line. Now, like in situations like that, I feel like there should be some form of recourse for a consumer to get their money back. However, the main difference is, I think a lot of this comes down to a difference between the UK and America, for example. In America, it seems far easier for a consumer to file a chargeback with their bank or their credit card provider.
Yeah, I noticed that.
They just simply seem to be able to raise a chargeback. That just seems to be something that Americans can do. Whereas in the UK, you have to go through this entire process.
It's such a pain in the arse, isn't it?
Yeah, there's only a few criteria that actually apply. And believe it or not, false selling is not one of them. I find that absolutely mental, but false selling is not one of them. Goods not received is one of them. However, you can argue that you've summoned on a banner expecting 10% rates and you've not received that. So the argument there would be goods not received. But the bank's response, you don't buy that summon. You buy the currency, and you got the currency. So I've always thought this is why these companies have that two-step process. Even EA has it, where you have to buy one currency and you can then convert that to do the thing that you want to do. So it's almost like a two-step process, so that technically you've always received what you paid for, because the thing that you paid for was the currency, not the currency you then used to summon on a misleading or false banner. So it's quite screwy. I'm actually going to be making a video. I mean, I spoke to you about maybe doing it, and I've got a few other people that want to like edit it and stuff like that. But I'm going to actually make a more in-depth video talking about like the more darker side of gacha gaming. I feel like Disgaea is one of the better ones. I mean, I actually feel like Disgaea is the best free-to-play mobile game, if I'm being honest.
And that's the thing as well. I wanted to take an opportunity here to look at how Bullet Rand has been doing, because I know every time we've spoken, we've always had a lot to say, a lot to criticize about Bullet Rand and how they've handled the game. And I think considering they're celebrating their own anniversary, we should take a wee look at where they are right now and how do you think they've improved or not improved since launch, actually. And you remember how bad because you remember the refund malarkey. Do you remember how bad the reputation was at that point? How other gacha subs were even shitting on Bullet Rand and the game really hard because of it, and people were leaving in droves.
Well, the thing is, Danny, I've always stood by this, and I'm not going to change my point of view even now. I don't ever feel like the issues were as bad as people made them out to be. I feel like a lot of it was severely inflated by YouTubers for cheap views. I've always thought this, and I'm never going to like change my mind about this. They would blow things out of proportion because drama sells. When it comes to YouTube, drama sells. People want to watch those videos for some reason. People would talk about things like, this game is going to die if it doesn't get pity. But they knew fine well that pity was a couple of months down the line because it was following the timeline of Japan. So instead of doing what I did, which was saying to people, okay, look, the game doesn't have pity now. We know it's coming. You're going to get it in round about 5 to 6 months, okay? So if you do not like summoning without pity, then don't. Just save your currency until pity's added to the game and go ham, and you'll get the things that you want to get. Instead of being that, people were, oh, this game's terrible, this game's going to die, blah, 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 blah. And I just feel it deliberately ran with that narrative to try and make the game sound worse than it was. And unfortunately, I still feel like it does have that negative aspect when it comes to its reputation, which is why I feel like a lot of the hate that this game gets is fully undeserved. Because having tried the experiment of venturing out to try new games like Dislight, like try to think what else, Cookie Run Kingdom, like Full Metal Alchemist, I can say wholeheartedly that two things that make this game stand head and shoulders above other games. One, the fact that we are a year behind Japan. People might not like that, but we have a full year where we can say, hey, I don't want to waste my quartz on this, that, or the next thing. I'll save and I'll get the people who I want to get when I want to get them. And you're guaranteed, like you're literally guaranteed, you have the resources, you have the ability to get the numbers that you need to actually obtain these things. All you've got to do is look at me, look at Red Cloud. I mean, Red Cloud doesn't really do future planning videos quite as much. You've got the Wikipedia, but you've got facilities available to you where you can literally go, okay, who should I be spending my quartz on, right? And
exactly.
I feel like that, coupled with the fact that we get a new event every single month, and I believe, I've tried to work it out, I can't get an exact number, but by doing the full event, by doing raids, I kind of hit on the low end, you can get between maybe about 12,500 quartz. Usually if you then do some of the other stuff that is available to you, PvP
is a really good income generator.
PvP, raid, other things like that, you're easily 15k a month, easily, right? 15k a month easily. So you can guarantee yourself pity every 2 months, okay? Now, clearly you could be a very unfortunate soul who has to go to pity to get every unit, right? I mean, it shouldn't be that way because RNG should at some point roll in your favour. But what should in theory happen is you saved up 2,000 quartz, 30,000 quartz because you knew you wanted a unit month 2. You jump into their banner, you jump into their banner and you're actually lucky and you get that unit after 5 rolls. That means to get back to 30k, you don't have to wait 2 months. You might have to wait half a month. You might have to wait a month. If you have it as a kind of rolling balance, it doesn't take you that long to keep having 30k quartz before you start summoning. The people that call this game not free-to-play friendly are the people who throw quartz at every single banner. They do 1 or 2 rolls and then they say, oh my god, I get shafted. Now, this is controversial. People might hate me for this, but that's fine. I do not think using 3,000 quartz you can say you've been shafted. Spending 20, spending 30, spending 40, spending 50 and not getting the unit, that is getting shafted. 2 multis is having a punt and hoping you get lucky. It's not getting shafted, right? But that's just my opinion on the whole shafted terminology. I hate it unless you've actually been shafted.
Sure, the funny thing is, like, both me and you did pull videos for the anniversary banner, and both me and you had to go to pity to get the both units in the end. And the thing is, I done 5 summons. I had to do 5 summons afterwards.
After that video. Yeah,
no, I know you had to do that afterwards, but I'm just saying we both went to pity at least. And to be honest, I didn't think anything bad of that. I enjoyed it as much as I can enjoy any kind of. I hate summoning at all, but as much as I can enjoy any kind of summoning, I had a good time. I wasn't complaining afterwards. It's like I saved up the quartz. I knew I had the quartz, and it was a good trade off.
To be honest, Danny, I thought that I'd done worse than I actually done. During the video, I actually did think I was either very close or had already any 10 or any 15 Jukimaru. And I don't know why I thought that, because it turned out I had had it any one. So that video actually became pretty damn good for me, because she is someone who I do want to put on like my PvP team for defense and stuff like that. So the units I got, who I didn't necessarily want to get, actually helped that video be quite good for me. And not to mention, on the 5 summons following that video, I got 2 Artinas and I got 1 Val. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Have you kept the 2 Artinas?
Yeah, I've got 2 Artinas, yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous. I only got one through the pity, so I only ever had 1, but I really wanted 2.
Yeah, I've got 2. I've actually only very recently I've got rid of a lot of my dupe characters. Like for a meme video, I made 5 any 7 plus or higher Laharos, if you remember. I also done it with the beach beach Laharos. I recently sold all my dupes of them and just kept 1 copy of each, and that was a substantial amount of black market printy coins.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, my printy coins have started running out because I have to get all my units now all the way up to any 15 or any 20, and that means for the next couple of months I have no printy coin income, so my golden printies just don't exist right now. It makes me really sad.
I've only got about 210,000 printy coins at the minute, Danny. I'm struggling.
Back off.
Is that
Fuck's
a lot?
sake.
I thought that was quite low.
It's a lot when you haven't, whenever you've none. Yeah, anything's fucking a lot. Fucking annoying too.
But
Damn
anyway,
it.
so I mean, I think I'm off a tangent there again. I tend to do that. Bolt Trend, I feel like a lot of their hate's always been a bit misplaced. I don't feel like they've ever been as bad as people have accused them of being. The thing with like slight mistranslations and stuff like that. Maybe I'm just someone who doesn't care that much, but they don't bother me. I mean, they've never bothered me. Something like a slight spell. I'm not a stickler for grammar. If you're on my Discord, you'll know I'm not a stickler for grammar because I spell things wrong all the time. I put like 2 instead of 2. I put commas in the wrong place. I really don't care. So I don't notice half of these errors, to be honest. But I know people who are quite anal about like punctuation and spelling and stuff like that. My wife, like, she's like, if she reads something that I've written that looks stupid, she'll tell me, John, that looks stupid.
Oh, she will.
Right. But
yeah,
I know people,
she will.
But I know that there's people like that who they just cannot stand to look at things that are written incorrectly. It just actually just like burns them to the core. So maybe for those people I understand it. But people act like Bolt Trend mess up something every time they do anything in the game. I have one complaint with Disgaea RPG, one, and I've had this complaint since day one, and I'm going to continue to have it, and that is, there is far too many maintenances. There is no reason that we should have to have maintenance every time a goddamn banner is added to the game. Like, why are we taking 5-hour maintenances about 3 times a month? I mean, that's just bonkers to me. It's just absolutely bonkers.
Well, talk a little bit about what we see behind the curtain. Like, the reason why we see their maintenance last so long is because whenever they put the maintenance on, like, there are issues that come up. They have to get them fixed, and that does take time. And why they have issues, why they have to do the maintenance in the first place is something I don't understand. Issues should not be cropping up, you know what I mean? They should only be changing so much. It should not be creating problems, you know what I mean? I don't understand it from a development perspective.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say from a development perspective. Should they not essentially just be taking the Japanese APK and essentially changing the language? Like, I know there's probably more to it than that, right? But I'm just saying, essentially, I mean, it's the same game as Japan. The only thing that I can see that maybe messes things up is Global has a tendency of having certain systems before they're supposed to. Like, we got Super Reincarnation before we were supposed to. Like, if you follow like the actual roadmap of events, I don't think Japan got that until either Christmas or just after the Christmas event. And we've obviously not had that yet, right? There's we got Rarity 50 gear way before we were supposed to. So I don't know if it's maybe due to the fact that certain elements are mismatched, if that makes sense, which maybe would cause problems. Again, I'm not a game developer, so I don't actually know these things, but I can imagine that might cause more problems than simply changing a language file from A to B. But again, I don't actually know these things. But I wish they would do one monthly maintenance, one big monthly, even if it's 12 hours, do one big monthly maintenance and then use the internal calendar of the game and make things go live on a date that they want to. They can clearly do that because they've done the maintenance for the latest banner for Artina and Valve. That banner did not go live. However, 2 days after the maintenance, that banner went live, which means it was added to the files 2 days prior and they simply activated it on the day it was coming out. Why can they not do that with the entire month? Just do all the content at the start of the month, deal with whatever issues you have to deal with, and then just use the internal systems to activate things at the point in time where you want them to activate. To me, that would be a far better experience.
The thing is, speaking from a development point of view, what you're asking actually is technically very feasible. And to be honest, it's a choice. The way they do things right now is because their current priorities are dictated. But what you're asking for, I don't think, is entirely unreasonable. You know what I mean? I think that kind of cadence would actually make a lot of sense.
I actually think that's what most gachas do, to be honest, Danny. Like Dokkan, for example, it has, I mean, it usually does a data download where maybe like a little bit into the month it will drop some new data, actually inserting the characters into the game. But the big maintenances, they tend to add like the the big content, and it's all in the files where it's going to come out at a certain time. And essentially what they do is they apply a hotfix when you log in, and that hotfix just basically inserts the required data that this point is going to require. It's a 2-minute thing and it's done. You know, I just feel like they should be able to do something like that. Like, clearly, I mean, whether or not we trust them to do hotfixes is another question, right? But it is something that you can do. I just feel like that could be one thing that maybe puts people off Disgaea, because I know that on my Discord, definitely, and my Discord's not quite as busy as the main Discord, but I think you're more active in my Discord than you are in the main Discord. I could be wrong.
But you never know.
But you see people talking all the time. It's like always, why are we in maintenance again, and why? You've obviously got the memes. I mean, the memes are quite funny, but
they are. I enjoy them.
You know, but I mean, I think that's just copium at that point, where people just are looking for any relief from the fact that they want to play the game and they can't play the game. And one thing absolutely. I did notice from Bolt Trend, and I mean, while I don't want to like suck them off and say that they've done everything great, I've said they've done a lot of stuff great. One other negative, I will point this out, is for some reason they used to give 100 quartz per 1 hour the game was in maintenance.
I know.
So if it was in maintenance,
the cheap bastards.
If it was in maintenance for 5 hours, you'd get 500 quartz. They seem to have dialed that back by about 20%, 25%. And I think now, like, 5 hour maintenance is 300 quartz. It's like, hey, wait a minute.
And they did that in line with the amount of maintenance that they fucking do. It's like they up the maintenance and decrease the fucking reward. It's like, we see you. We see what you're doing.
However, I will say, when we had the mammoth maintenance of like a day and a half, the compensation they gave for that was phenomenal.
It was.
Like, that is unmatched. I've not seen another game giving you, what was it, like 4 multis almost? 5? I don't know. It was so many multis you got, and no one else would have done that. Like, literally no one else. Like I say, I've played a lot of other games lately, like this light, which I hate with a passion now. They hardly even give, mate. You're laughing, Danny. I'm serious. I hate it. I just hate the fact that they screwed people so much and they don't care.
That's so painful.
They basically, anytime something goes wrong, it's like, oh, sorry. With Full Metal Alchemist, I love Full Metal Alchemist as a property, and I'll maybe cover it when it comes to
enjoy it. I don't love it, but I do really enjoy it.
Well, what, the anime or the game?
The franchise.
Right, cool. Because I've ditched the game. I'll be honest, I've ditched the game. I don't play it anymore.
Neither do I.
The reason I don't play it anymore is something that you probably noticed a little bit before me, and on the surface it seemed like a very free-to-play friendly game. It didn't take long for that veil to kind of peel back, and I realised, hang on, this is not free-to-play friendly at all. It was so much.
No.
But the thing is, I think, whereas you did notice it a bit faster, I do think they did a good job in hiding the fact that it wasn't that free-to-play friendly. I think on the surface it appeared free-to-play friendly, right? But I think when I was kind of lying to myself was when I looked at one of the passes and I'm like, they're charging you to get 2.5 speed.
No fucking right. That so pissed me off. I was like, what? I need speed? What? Why?
It takes a long time to grind these things, and by default you get 1.5 speed, and to access 2.5 speed you've got to pay for it. Could you imagine Bolt Trend charged for 8 speed in this game? People would be like,
we're enjoying 8 speed right now, like fucking kings. Like fucking kings is Disgaea. And they had the audacity to charge, they put a cap on 1.5 speed for free to play, and then you had to pay specifically just to pay to get it to what, 2.5?
Yeah. Well, actually, Danny, I may as well ask you then, because this is quite interesting. When are you planning to have this video out, roughly?
Probably before Italy, but if not, after Italy.
All right, so it won't be tomorrow or Sunday, basically.
Probably not.
Right, cool. Well, I can tell you what my next videos that is coming up, because it'll be out now. I've literally made a video called the most free-to-play friendly game you should be playing in 2022, and it's about Disgaea.
Oh shit, really?
That is
really,
that is what the video is. I've gone deep to explain why I believe it's the most free-to-play friendly game, why I feel like new people should play the game. If you watch the video, you might actually feel like it's a bit of a sales pitch, because yes, I was trying to sell it to new players, but I wholeheartedly believe what I said in the video to be true. So a few people who are listening to this have probably seen that video by now. But I genuinely, because of my experience with other games, I genuinely believe Disgaea RPG is the most free-to-play friendly game. But you have to approach it in the correct way. Like, for example, one thing we can hit on about is one of the things in Disgaea RPG that will literally be the difference between you being a top player and not a top player is alchemy and gear, right? 100%. It's like, I feel like the units have less to do with it than the alchemy and the gear does, right? A whale cannot purchase their way to getting better gear and better alchemy than you. Everyone is on the exact same playing field. You've got to grind the item world, you've got to sell your materials, and you've got to have the luck of the draw. You cannot purchase that. So that means that technically speaking, while it might take you a bit longer to get your characters to the likes of NE15, etc., technically a free-to-play player can compete on the same level as a pay-to-win player in PvP. Because if you've saved your currency, you summon for the right units, and you spend your time in the item world and build your weapons, you can compete with the best players in the game, and they cannot pay money to get better stuff than you. They just cannot do it.
You know, as someone who plays the game a lot, no, I actually agree with you. Like, that is actually an equalizer in gameplay that most other games would certainly monetize.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I mean, like, 100%. Full Metal Alchemist, this light, if there was a way that they could sell you the perfect weapon and charge you $100 for it, I mean, maybe I'm being a bit mean on Full Metal Alchemist. This light certainly would. Summoner's War would. Raid Shadow Legends would. These are all big popular games, you know. These are all, like, crazily, some people actually play Raid Shadow Legends, believe it or not.
Yeah, what the fuck? A gacha game I'm playing recently is Genshin Impact. And I really appreciate the graphics of the game. The game looks stunning. Yeah, but the gacha elements are really not good.
Actually,
good at all.
Actually, Danny, they're not as bad as people make them out to be. Like, I mean, compared to Dislight, for example, Dislight you had to spend round about the same amount of money to do a multi in Dislight as it would cost you to do a multi in Genshin Impact. I mean, up until recently, you were having to do 450 summons to guarantee a copy of the unit, right? Now, in Genshin, you have to do 180, I believe, 90 on the first pity, 90 on the second pity. And the way that Genshin works is, if you do not roll the new unit on your first roll, you're guaranteed to get them on your next pity, and that is constant. So if you are a whale, you know for a fact that you're going to max out that character within 12 full runs, which is obviously a lot, right? But that's how it works. The first legendary character you pull will either be the new one or some random, but then that means that the next multi is guaranteed to be the new one, and then it'll just go like that constantly. So I mean, as much stick as Genshin gets for its gacha system, there is way, way, way worse gacha systems out there, trust me, way worse.
I didn't say it was the worst. I'm just saying
No, I'm saying that. Sorry, I'm saying that more to the player base. There is this misconception that Genshin has the worst gacha system. It simply does not. That is not true.
Oh, it definitely doesn't. Definitely doesn't. I've actually been really enjoying Genshin. I hate to even admit that, but I've been really, really enjoying it. But again, I play Disgaea all day, every day, so it's an easy comparison for me to make. And comparing
guys, just to be clear, Danny says he plays Dislight all day, every day. What he means is the macro plays Dislight all day, every day. Disgaea even. I mean, let's be honest, that's another thing about Bolt Trend. They know fine well that we use the macro, and they're fine. I mean, they're not actively promoting it or anything like that, but they don't care. Because I think they know that a lot of people probably wouldn't play the game if we couldn't use the macro.
Yeah, to be fair, the macro has added a significant quality of life to everybody who's using it, and I'm sorry, but that to me now is as important to the game as the game itself. They go hand in hand.
See, the thing is, Danny, and I say this, see auto farming gear, like as in being able to like take an item, queue it up, like actually literally say for example you wanted to select 10 items, not like the 4D Netherworld, right, but you wanted to select 4 items that you were going to manually grind, right? If you could queue them up, and if you could literally tell the AI, repeat if not, right? So repeat if not silver, repeat if not gold, right? You could literally set that. That could quite easily be a quality of life update. If we had that, nobody would use the macro, because you'd have it in game. You wouldn't need to use a macro. And
What's stopping them? What's stopping them right now? That would be a quality of life feature. I'd be willing to pay.
I mean, would you? But if the macro would do it for free, why would you pay?
No. If they could do seriously, if they could do that in game, I would pay. You know why? Easier.
Again, yeah, you're probably right, and you don't have to use things like Steam and lose control of your mouse, etc. So yeah, you're probably right. But I mean,
would pay. Honestly, I would pay right now.
I don't see any reason why something like that couldn't be added as a quality. Looking at some of the quality of life improvements we've had, like stopping at the 10th floor, the reason they do stopping at the 10th floor is because they know that you want to farm for a drop. That's why that exists. Okay, that's the only reason that exists.
No, the real question is, do you think Forward Works gives a flying fuck what the global players think?
No Japanese developer does. You find this with a lot of games. If they've got a Japanese version,
there you go.
You really need Japanese players to pipe up. If Japanese players are angry at stuff, that tends to be when it happens. There's a real disconnect between global audiences and Japanese audiences.
Yeah, the thing is, you know this and I know this for a fact because we play these games. Like, it doesn't matter what noise we make. Our global publishers are really reactive. They do respond very well to what we want, but it doesn't matter whenever the fucking actual devs of the game, Forward Works, the Japanese devs, they don't hear anything. They don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, Danny, that's one of the things that pees me off a little bit. I think a lot of the things that Forward Ultra and get stick for is actually Forward Works. It's like there's systems and things in this game that people are like, oh, stupid Bolt Train doing this. It's like, it wasn't them though. It was Forward Works. This is Forward Works. And they're like,
Bolt Train have a shit deal, and they do the best they can sometimes with a shit fucking
100%.
hand.
And you get people that think, oh well, I mean, just because something is bad in Japan doesn't mean it has to be the same in global. And it's like, do you know that Forward Works publishes someone else's IP? If they want to make changes, they have to get permission from the original IP holder, which is obviously Forward Works, who have got the IP for developing the mobile gacha Disgaea RPG. Bolt Train can't just go in and change things. Like, see the whole thing where they added the assassin shoes, the prinny pants, and the diva belt? They must have worked pretty hard to get Forward Works to agree to that. There's no way they just went, okay.
They had to.
They would have had to have worked for that. I mean, I'd love it if we could talk them into maybe adding a Hayzink's haha. That's what I want. Hayzink speed cap. A level 40, a rank 40 item. That's what I want in the game. Or a weapon like a dildo stick or something like that instead of a sword.
Stick.
You know? Nah, you like something like that, you know? Or because you've got Miru, who's French, and he's a mod on the Disgaea server, then get like a baguette instead of a sword. Do you know what I mean? Just something stupid like that. I think that would be cool.
You've been listening to the Makai Sentai podcast with guest Hayzink. Thank you very much, guys, and feel free to subscribe, leave a comment down on our YouTube channels too. Do whatever, guys, and we'll see you in game.